Insects are found throughout the world except on the poles. Fossil records indicate that many species exist today in much the same form as they did 200 million years ago. Their enormous biological success is attributed to their small size, the remarkable adaptive abilities of the group as a whole, and the enormous variety in body structure and way of life.
Ireland's Higher Education Authority admitted this was the first time they had seen circumstances so extreme, and the Fianna Fáil party leader, Michael Martin, urged on the government to intervene. He said, "It is very worrying that all of the progress in opening up access to higher education in the last decade, particularly for the working poor, is being derailed because of an entirely foreseeable accommodation crisis."
It is normally expected that the final version of your thesis, which must be submitted to the university library in both hard copy and electronic form, will be freely available to the public. Once in the library, your thesis may be consulted, borrowed and copied in accordance with the regulations.
It is safe to say we are all feeling exhausted at the end of the year, but when does tiredness tip into burnout? Aussie experts in mental health have been studying the phenomenon of burnout closely, and they have just released the first complete self-help guide to burnout.
It often appears that we have more to gain by speaking than by listening. One big advantage of speaking is that it gives you a chance to control others' thoughts and actions. Whatever your goal is, the key to success seems to be the ability to speak well.
It's not easy to make a wind turbine blade. Conventional blades require a lot of labor. They are a sandwich composed of fiberglass, sheets of balsa wood and a chemical called an epoxy thermoset resin. A heat oven is required to give blades the proper shape, strength, smoothness and flexibility to catch the wind and turn the turbine.
Knowledge of how to make and use pottery was probably shared between hunter-gatherer communities in Europe via cultural and social traditions prior to the spread of agriculture, according to international research, who say it seems to have happened faster than previously thought.
Knowledge of how to make and use pottery was probably shared between hunter-gatherer communities in Europe via cultural and social traditions prior to the spread of agriculture, according to international research, who say it seems to have happened faster than previously thought.
Lacking in first language skills often make learning other languages difficult. Often a child learns the basics of his or her first language or languages from his or her family. The term mother tongue, however, should not be interpreted to mean that it is the language of one's mother.
Life processes are similar in all animals with backbones. So physiologists can find out a lot about the human body by studying animals such as frogs, rats and rabbits. Sometimes research involves the death of these animals. But physiologists take great care not to hurt the animals.
Lincoln's apparently radical change of mind about his war power to emancipate slaves was caused by the escalating scope of war, which convinced him that any measure to weaken the Confederacy and strengthen the Union war effort was justifiable as a military necessity.
Long isolated from Western Europe, Russia grew up without participating in the development like the Reformation that many Russians taking pride in their unique culture find dubious value. Russia is, as a result, the most unusual member of the European family, if indeed it is European at all. The question is still open to debate, particularly among Russians themselves.
Magellan is a Portuguese navigator who shared the idea of Christopher Columbus and others that the Far East could be reached by sailing westward. He embarked from Spain in August 1519 with a fleet of 5 ships, sailed southward down the coast of South America and reached the Pacific Ocean through the strait named after him.
Mahalia Jackson was born into a preacher's family in 1911, and she grew up in a riverfront shanty in New Orleans. She was motherless at 5, working as a maid and loudness in her mid-teens. As a little girl, she would whisper to herself before she went to sleep, "Someday the sun is going to shine down on me in some faraway place."
Many consider World War I to have been the first modern war, a total war where the civilian populations were deliberately endangered as a direct tactic of war, which has continued in all subsequent wars. While civilians have always died in wars, World War I made civilian casualties accepted and commonplace, from, for example, aerial bombardment.
Many individuals have unwittingly contributed to this book through sharing ideas with us as colleagues, students, practitioners, tourists, and residents at destination areas. They are too numerous to thank individually. And indeed, it is not possible to isolate exactly their specific contributions.
Many people with high IQ scores fail to become successful due to lack of motivation, laziness, or short attention span. In contrast, some people with low IQ succeed with greater personal dedication, systematic effort, and motivation. One can eliminate the disadvantage that comes with a low IQ score by choosing the right career path.
Many women in Western society, aware of the power of names to influence identity, are aware that choosing how to identify themselves after marriage can be a significant decision. They may follow the tradition of taking their husband's last name, hyphenate their own name and their husband's, or keep their birth name.
Mapping surface rocks is the first stage in modern oil exploration. By studying the rocks on the surface, geologists can guess at the structure of the rocks beneath the surface. Another method that helps them do this is to use an instrument called a gravimeter. This measures the slight differences in the gravitational force at different points on the surface of the Earth.
Modern aircraft use many additional methods of navigation. The pilot plots his course on a flight plan before he takes off. After the takeoff, an altimeter tells his height or altitude, above the ground or water. Instruments controlled by gyroscopes show whether he is climbing or turning.